for free. And over a year's period, I know you buy groceries more than once a week, so you're going to get your money's worth there. College students going to college also get a 50% discount on Walmart Plus. Um, Auto care, free flat tire repair and road hazard. Burger King. I don't know if everybody eats fast food. I'm on a diet myself. I know me and Tim have been trying to watch our weight. But you get 25% off there also. So all these benefits, in a time where we're unsure about the economy, we're able to offer that and give you in-home service and be able to deliver to wherever you're at, but also enhance your family life. Now, we're in a business meeting, so I also want to talk about how Walmart can benefit the businesses in Cleveland. And it's whether you're nonprofit, if you're just starting up, if you've been here for a while, we give low prices on bulk merchandise buys. So if you have pencils, pens, paper, all those things we can give you at a low price in bulk and make sure it's delivered in a timely manner. Free curbside pickup, seamless tax exempt, whether you're shopping online or in store. Multiple account users, so usually you can only have one account, but for the business we can get y'all to be able to have multiple account users on there, so whoever needs to use it can use it. And I know a lot of times I have businesses come in the store, whether it's food businesses or shops, asking, and with Walmart Business you're able to set that up and not have to ask, but just come pick it up and have what you need at that point in time, which leads me to how we've been able to impact the business my 2.5 years here. If you've been to the local Walmart, we understand that building's been there for a while, since it's moved from where the Berkshire Brothers has been. And so one of my first things is when I came here was, other than carts and marked carts that they told me you better make sure you get in, was that they wanted a building they could be proud of and that they can go to and feel happy and own the building. This is Cleveland's Walmart, and be proud of that. So it was a long 2.5 years, but through work of my team and myself, we were able to secure a remodel for the store. The remodel will be 14 weeks. It starts August 10th, 2026. It will end November 13th. 2026 will be the grand opening, and I'm very excited for it because it's going to open up a lot of things for the community. One, jobs, because we're going to need to hire some workers to come in, apart from the workers we have now, to help set the store. A lot of this store will be moving. A lot of categories will be moving. We'll be a store of the future. So if you've gone to New Caney, they've had a remodel. Ours is going to be better than that. Livingston had a remodel last year. Ours will be better than that. I think the store that will compare to ours is in Cypress. They call it the store of the future. And so we will have that in Cleveland. The online grocery pickup that I'm talking about, we're going to be expanding it. Out of the 9 stores that are in our market, we have Lufkin, Nacogdoches, Huntsville, Center, Woodville, Crockett, Livingston, as I mentioned. We've had the most growth as far as our online business, so it'll be tailored to that. And so you'll see building expansion. We'll have building expansion there. And then with the building expansion, the parking lot's going to change. We're going to have a new parking lot, refaced parking lot. I know the bank is also getting a remodel in there, but we will have new and exciting things that y'all be able to speak to as far as being proud of the Cleveland Walmart, and then also community service is what we're going to be focusing on, because starting next year when they do remodels, they give us more grant money, and so we'll have more grant money. And my ask is that we communicate that to the nonprofits, but also that they come and speak to me. I don't think y'all know how many grants I get, not just from Cleveland, but from all over Texas. And we don't want to just give the money. we want to be able to be a part of what you're getting the money for and be able to contribute other than the money with our time. So that's the main thing with myself, is that when we have events or anything, that you let my team know, and we don't have a problem being there to be able to contribute and help build up the city. I have a part where I want Tim to talk about our involvement in the community as far as when bad weather hits, right? And we know that going forward with the political system we have now, we don't know where we can secure funds if something happens, right? So with Walmart, we have great logistics. We have a great ability to get supplies and things that we need during hard times. Now, we all wish we don't have that, but when it does happen, we have to be prepared for that. And I'll let Tim speak on that piece, but I want to thank y'all for letting us come and talk about what we can do to improve the community. And I wanted to let y'all know to not be shy and come and speak to us and let us know how we can help improve if we're not doing something, or if y'all need some help. We're going to be there to help. So I'll let Tim Hughes come speak on the other part.
Hey, good evening, and thank y'all for letting me get up here and speak to y'all. I've been in the community for a pretty good while. We moved here. My wife was in TDCJ, so I could move anywhere. I used to be a welder for Brandon Root underwater offshore, but so we moved here in '99 in Cleveland, and she was at Pam Lyncher State Jail in Atascocita. I don't know if y'all know where that is, behind the state trooper grounds. Then we moved out to Tarkington, and we've been out there since March 2000. So we like the community, and we got 3 kids that graduated from out there. We will have 7 grandchildren that come this October, so we love it in this neighborhood. So I want to just mention a few things. So to the esteemed businesses of Cleveland, Texas, we are gathered today to acknowledge and celebrate the incredible spirit of every business in our beloved town. Your dedication, innovation, and hard work are the backbone of Cleveland. We are deeply appreciated the contributions each of you make with our vibrant community. As we approach the hurricane season, a time historical brings unique challenges to our region. We want to reinforce our unwavering commitment to you. More than ever, we believe in the power of partnership and mutual support among Cleveland businesses. We want you to know that you are not alone. We stand ready and to support one another, fostering a network of resilience that will benefit us all. Our collective strength will ensure that Cleveland emerges stronger no matter what the season brings. Furthermore, we want to provide an important update regarding our preparedness should a hurricane impact do hit our area this season. We're committed to providing relief efforts just as we have in the past. Our goal is to contribute to the swift recovery of our community and help mitigate this disruptions caused by such events. In a significant stride towards ensuring continuity and stability, we're proud to announce that we have installed a large Ravenvolt generator in the back of our property, so we won't ever be out of power and out of business for the community. This substantial investment means that our operations will continue uninterrupted, even in the event of a power outage. Our doors will remain open, allowing us to serve the community and where possible, provide a point of stability during the challenging times. I feel like together we can face the hurricane season with confidence, knowing that we are united by a shared commitment to Cleveland's prosperity and well-being. Thank you for your continued dedication for being an integral part of the community. So we appreciate it. We're going to be there for y'all, okay? So if you need anything, like he said, he controls the money. I usually tell him how much I need. But we have also a packet here that has like badge backers and QR codes, how to be a part of Walmart business. So if you guys want to take some, there's pens and different things in here. So
There you go.
you scan this, it tells you how to be a good business partner with Walmart. It takes you to all the avenues you ever will want.
Excellent.
So I'm gonna leave this on the table over here.
Okay.
So again, anybody got any questions about any of that?
No, I will say, and yes, Walmart's a big partner for the city here. And
Yes,
I
sir.
remember, I know, as a lot of y'all do, during our disaster assistance during Beryl, y'all were front and center. Y'all had volunteers out there, helped with different supplies. So big thank you to that. Y'all really came through.
Yes, sir.
And I know y'all will again if we're ever in that situation.
Hopefully we won't, but
I know it.
we will.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank y'all. All right, next we have our Greater Cleveland Chamber of Commerce update from Miss Victoria Good.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to see all of you. And I, just real quick, since they're here, I do want to also say thank you to Walmart. Walmart is one of our platinum members, and I can usually just text him, and he's got me. So I just want to say thank you to them and SAR. They're amazing. They're a great partner to have in the community. So we've got a good Walmart. So I just appreciate the opportunity to come in tonight and give y'all a little update, what we've got going on. So we had our kids market. So we partner with the City of Cleveland, Austin Memorial Library, and Austin Bank to do a kids market. We just had our fourth one. If you've never been to the kids market, you have to come. We bring in young entrepreneurs that can resell items. They make items, crafts, candles. Some of them grow vegetables and flowers, and it's amazing what these kids do. But it's an opportunity for them to come in and sell their products. They learn how to market their business, sell their products, and learn, basic business skills while they're there. So it was a great turnout. We had approximately 30 vendors. I think we had 35 sign up, and then, some of them couldn't come. I will say it was very hot, but that's okay. It's the summertime. Our next one will be in the fall, and it's going to be more themed as a holiday market. So we're really looking forward to that. But this has been a really great initiative that was created by the library. And we've actually, this past Texas Library Association conference, Wendy actually spoke about the kids market. She was one of the guest speakers to let people know about what an amazing partnership and event that has become for us. So really great event. Our next luncheon is, of course, this Thursday. We are really excited to celebrate this week. We've got the 90th anniversary. We've got the rebrand launch. What else do we have? 4th of July. We've got a lot of things going on, but we're really excited to be a part of that. So our luncheon is themed a GCC family picnic. So we're going to have Whataburger is going to set up a burger bar. So we're really excited about that. They're bringing apple pies for dessert. And we have Emilio telling everyone about the why behind the rebrand. We want people to know that, our committee spent time and effort into, all the details that went into the new logo and all the rebranding. And so we've got the luncheon. Oh, one thing that we did add, we are, I asked some of the dancers from Premier Dance Center to come do a patriotic performance. So that will be at the luncheon, and I'm really excited about that. So that's the luncheon, and of course, the city has all of their fun stuff going on that evening, and we'll also be a part of that. We're going to be passing out lemonade, so come get some lemonade. I just got word today that we're going to be scheduling the ribbon cutting for the Grand Bistro and Bar. Y'all are the first to hear. It's going to be July 11th. So that is next Friday, but we'll put out that information tomorrow. If y'all haven't eaten there yet, you gotta go because it's delicious. We're also excited about the SBA workshop that Heidi and Emilio have kind of organized for us. So it's July 17th, and I know that we've got people already registered, and we're looking forward to more being registered. So we'll push that, of course, this Thursday. One thing that we also have, we're also going to be pushing out is it's called Boutique Bonanza. So this is, if you've been to Taste of Cleveland, Cocoa Crawl, it's very similar, where you get a bingo card, and we've got 5 small business boutique members that we're including in this. But it's a Western themed summer shopping event designed to boost foot traffic, encourage local spending, and create a buzz around our amazing small businesses. So these are our small business members that sell clothing and boutique items. That's gonna go on from July 15th to August 15th, so that way we catch back to school shopping, tax-free weekend. And so we'll be putting out some information about that. But basically, they're going to get a card at any location that is included. So it's Lone Star Cleaners and Boutique, The Flower Shop, Sinful Southern Bells, All About Me, and we've got a member in Splendora that I can't think of the name right now. So you can go to any of those locations. If you spend more than $20, you get a stamp, and then when you fill up your card, you get entered to win a prize. And so each of those boutiques is donating towards this grand prize, and it is the Bonanza Bounty is what you will be winning. So we're really excited about that. Just another push to get people into our boutiques. So yeah, if y'all have any questions, I think that's all I have. Could be more. Thank you.
Excellent. A lot of good stuff going on around town. All right, we're going to have our reports and comments from the board members. Mr. Buckley, let's start down on your end.
We good now? There we go. I just want to thank the Public Works for all the hard work y'all been doing. I know y'all get hammered a lot, and there's a lot going on, and still working on fixing some stuff from Comcast. I appreciate everything y'all do over there for us. Fire department, police department, I appreciate everything they're doing, and I want to welcome our new city manager. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mike. Ms. Jasmine, anything you'd like to say? It's okay.
They told me y'all were gonna go in a line so I can listen to you.
Well, I'll tell you what. Mr. Chuck, you go next.
Okay.
You get reprieve. You get one person.
Yeah, there we go. Nice to be back in session. I feel like I've been on summer break here. But anyway, nice to be back and see everybody. And again, I'll echo what Mr. Buckley said. It often goes, I won't say unnoticed, but Public Works catches the brunt of anything that is conceived as wrong. I know it's going to be getting hot and heavy here pretty soon with some construction at the Grand Oaks entrance. So Roger up front, thanks very much, and hopefully it won't be too much of a comment. Outside of that, that's it. Nice to be back in session.
Excellent.
First, I want to thank everybody for this opportunity. I am part of the city in a way. I work for the Cleveland Pharmacy, so we have been through a lot with y'all. I do want to mention shortly, we also did get a generator, so Walmart did kind of remind me of that, so hopefully that benefits the city since we keep pretty much all the city's medications sometimes. And again, just thank you everybody, and thank you for the community efforts. Yeah.
Thank you. I want to echo everybody, Public Works, our awesome police department and fire department. Thank y'all for the job y'all do day in and day out. I do want to say again, welcome. This is Mr. Tipton, our new city manager's first EDC meeting. So thank you for being here. We really appreciate what you're going to bring to this city. And I do want to mention to everybody, Ms. Good mentioned it, but our 4th of July fireworks is this July 3rd, and it's going to be a full night of activities. So I expect it to be, they put on a great show. So come on out and be a part. There's vendors and food and all kinds of stuff. Bands, music, all kinds of good stuff. So, all right. Mr. Emilio, Director's Report.
Thank you, Brent. First, I want to introduce and give a special welcome to our new Marketing and Communications Coordinator, Courtney Phipps. It's her first day with us, so she came back after lunch. So,
It's a good time.
yeah, we didn't run her off too quickly, but she brings a lot of experience in the nonprofit sector in marketing and communications. So I think she's going to be a fantastic addition to the team, working with Heidi and myself and our whole community development department. So excited to have her, excited to be working with Lee as well. He's been here with us for a while now. We didn't meet last month, but it's been a great partnership, and I think he knows the importance of the work that the corporation does, and he's going to be a great advocate and asset for us. Exciting things happening in terms of our rebranding project. It is, while we're kind of winding that down, that is manifesting into some real tangible benefits or events this week with our brand launch activities. Like Victoria mentioned, I'll be giving a presentation at the Chamber Luncheon about the essence and the why and the story of our rebranding project. So that's a ticketed event. It's open to the public, though, if they want to purchase a ticket. But all the cool things will be happening at our rebrand launch tailgate at the stadium at 6 p.m. before the fireworks, before the live music and everything. So we'll have lots of free giveaways, free swag. So come, be part of the festivities and really get to help us celebrate our new brand. Exciting progress on our gateway and wayfinding signage master plan. As you know, that took a pause to really focus on the rebranding, and now that we have the rebranded assets, we're starting to put that into our master plan now. So staff had some first looks at what that looks and feels like. We're comfortable with the new direction. It's looking amazing, and so we're going to be bringing that back to our our wayfinding committee, hopefully sometime in July or August, and so that we can bring those recommendations back to EDC and get that plan adopted, and then start updating all the physical gateway and wayfinding signage throughout the city to match our new branding. And lastly, as they mentioned before, but July 17th from 9:30 to 11 at the Cleveland Civic Center, we'll be co-hosting a small business administration workshop and seminar with the Chamber, the Civic Center, and of course our SBA partners out of the Houston office and the Small Business Development Center. So just a good opportunity for entrepreneurs, small businesses, aspiring small business entrepreneurs to come and learn about different resources and tools to help them in their journey. So that'll be again on July 17th from 9:30 to 11 a.m. We do ask people to RSVP. There is a link to the event on the city's Facebook where they can do that RSVP. But we look forward to seeing everyone there. And that's all I have.
Excellent, Emilio. And and I'm so glad we are getting back now that the rebranding is happening. That's very exciting, and I can't wait for the public to see it. I think it's just a great go forward for the city, and to wrap that up with our wayfinding and rebranding is terrific. All right, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. All consent agenda items are considered routine by the EDC board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member requests an item be removed and considered separately. So I'm sure everybody's had a chance to look through it. Do I hear any motions on the consent agenda?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda with one exception. We need to have an amended signature on the quarterly investment report.
All right. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda with the one correction on the signature page on the investment report, all in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right. On to item 12, discussion and appointment of EDC officers. We do not have a full table tonight. As far as our board members, I think as we go forward with the discussion and the appointment of officers, I would like everyone to be here before we do that, if that's the will of the board. But ultimately, that's y'all's decision. If y'all want to table it till next meeting and get a full.
I'm good with that.
Good with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Need a motion?
I think we need a motion to table.
I'll
There's no
motion to
action
table.
taken. Yeah. All right, number 13, discussion and possible adoption of the target industry analysis. Mr. Emilio.
Yes, so we have with us our consultant target, applied marketing, Lee Howe. She is on Zoom or Teams meeting. We're going to get that up to y'all. Hopefully I've had some time to digest that it's quite a large document, so staff is still becoming very intimate with it as well. But it's already a good resource for us. We've already mobilized this into a lot of strategies that we're actively working on. We kind of did a roadshow with some of these findings in Houston with some brokers and site selectors and developers, talking about our needs and some of the things identified in this target industries analysis to support some of those discussions. So it's already a useful document and a useful plan for us. And so hopefully we can get our technology to cooperate with us today, and Lee Howe can walk us through a high level of the findings of this. So if we can give us a few minutes to coordinate that.
Yeah, because I'm sure all y'all got a chance to look through this. I mean, this is really a good strategy for how we target what energy we put into what targets to help this city grow. And what are our strengths, playing to our strengths. Is Ms. Lee expecting us to join on the teams?
Yeah. Haley could just walk off.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you, yes.
Well, we can see you, Lee. So if you want to share your screen.
I think I'm on, right?
Yeah, if you can hear me, if you could share your screen.
Can you hear
Okay.
Emilio?
Yes,
Yeah, just
yes. My camera's on, but you're not seeing me?
yeah. And we see you.
Okay.
We see you, so you can just share your screen at any time. And
With the slides?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, I am gonna log on with another computer. Sorry, I thought you had the slides up. Um, I'll be right back, okay?
Do we have the slides? All right.
Okay, sorry about that. Just a little bit of a, okay, presenter mode. Okay, and then, are you seeing the slides?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, great, great. Well, thank you for having me here tonight and to go over the target industry study. Let me press that. Is that better?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Um, and just interrupt me with questions, or if you want to wait till the end and have a discussion, then that's fine too. But thanks to Emilio and Heidi for helping me with this target industry analysis and getting set here tonight. Um, we have recommended, 5 target industries, and manufacturing and distribution and logistics, I think were um, very highly spoken of. You've got a good base of those. The data centers is something that I think is worth exploring. There's going to be so much need for data centers with the AI world right now that if that can fit in your community, if you have the resources as far as the power resources mostly, then that is a good pursuit. Construction materials, and I'll go a little bit more in depth as we get on, but along with the manufacturing and distribution, But just with the population growth in Houston and in Texas in general, the construction materials fits very well with your region and the workforce and what's happening, in the whole state. And then aviation, really pulling in the airport and some of the advantages there and trying to really create a cluster around the airport because it can be a wide range of jobs from manufacturing to repair to flight schools and all, and everything along there. But I think that was kind of a one of them that was a little surprising. I didn't know much about the airport before I got there, but that one stood out as well. Just to remind you a little bit about what we did and the path we took. Um, we combined all of the on the ground meetings and focus groups and combined that with the quantitative data to choose the industries that were desirable and feasible for Cleveland. We spoke with a lot of focus groups: education, real estate, city. We did some one-on-one interviews with area economic development, regional and state economic development with BNSF, that sort of thing. And then on top of that, we laid the data analysis. And that's just a little more about what we looked at from the data. Demographics, of course, locations, location quotients, employment trends, and then industry composition, meaning we looked at not only Cleveland, but your surrounding counties and the whole region as to what what industries were in the region. And the first one, manufacturing, I think certainly that's building on the strength that you have. You have an established base in the region, and it's pretty diverse in Cleveland right now. And I think we are suggesting a concentration in the metal fab, machinery, and plastics. Your advantages fit well, and the workforce fit well. And not to mention the transportation network is very strong in your area and supports this industry very well. And hand in hand with that is really the distribution and logistics. A very strategic location that you have, and the transportation network being very strong. The BNSF Logistics Center that's coming online, and making the most of that, and as well as the manufacturing supplies and output that will need to be delivered, and input, output, that sort of thing. But also the port proximity, and I know there's closer areas to the port, but certainly your land costs and operating costs would make a very efficient place and very attractive to distribution and logistics, as well as the manufacturing. The data centers, certainly cost advantages with the lower land costs and competitive rates. It's really demand driven right now, and this is something that with the development of AI and all the need for cloud storage, those data centers are going to be looking for places that they want to locate. A question for you, I think, and a question that I've heard from others, is data centers right? And is that how you want to use your land? Because it does take a lot of land and it does take a lot of power. And so I think that deserves a conversation internally with you and Emilio to understand that it does take a commitment of power to run that data center. but it's a huge investment. And though the workforce is fairly small that's needed for the data centers. The construction materials, I think that was, it goes hand in hand, obviously, with the manufacturing, but it can be kind of broken out into some different sectors to focus on. But Houston region is one of the fastest growing regions, and it will demand not only residential growth but commercial growth. And I think there are opportunities there to bring those construction suppliers into the area. And then finally, the aviation. And the airport, I think, is really untapped potential. I know that there are some passenger services coming, or at least that's what I heard in some of my focus groups and talking with people. But I think, beyond that, it can be maintenance and training, um, flight school, and really creating, your little own aviation cluster around the airport. The next slide is really a lot. I think will tell you a lot as far as kind of which ones can be high generators of jobs, like manufacturing or distribution, kind of where they all fall on the capital investment line. Some of them are going to be very high capital investment, like your data centers, and low employment. And then your timeline, and that I'm hoping can set some expectations on, your marketing and attraction efforts on how long it might take to get someone to commit and to get someone in and building, that sort of thing. That just gives you a nice snapshot of kind of where those different industries fall on those specters. And then in conclusion, all of the industry targets have recommendations that define the industry by SIC code, prioritize those industries by the different subsectors. So like in manufacturing, there was metals, machinery, and plastics. And, we put metals and machinery, HVAC, kind of priority number one. And plastics, the priority number two, based on growth factors and estimates of growth coming up. That drove our recommendations there. But there is a blueprint then in the profile for different trade shows that fit into the different industries that Emilio and Heidi might want to look at as far as attending, or and if it doesn't have to be a trade show as far as your marketing, but it can be attraction efforts, a lot of phone and email, that sort of thing as well. But I do think those profiles have a good guideline of the strengths for messaging, and then the implementation vehicles. I guess, in conclusion, I'm really excited about the industries that really, came forward for Cleveland. I think there's a whole lot of opportunity there, and I was really excited when I visited to see a lot of that. And so I'll stop talking and take questions at this point.
A lot of information there. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Howe?
Anything that you expected to see that you didn't see?
Not from me.
Okay.
I will say that, I am curious how the focus groups went, and what were kind of the biggest bullseyes that led you to kind of because I agree with the manufacturing and the construction materials, that does fits into not only, I think Cleveland's future, but what we were kind of built on too.
Yes.
So, so I was just curious kind of where you saw that in whether it be in your focus groups or in your research around town or around the more broad area.
I think it's both there. Certainly, there is an established base in the manufacturing and the distribution in the region as a whole. And we heard that from several of the community focus groups that they were focused on the manufacturing, I think, more than the distribution and warehousing. Though the distribution and the logistics area, I think, goes hand in hand with the manufacturing that you're looking at and that we're recommending. And I don't want to, say BNSF all the time, but that is truly a gem in your community that I think you can use in your marketing materials and getting some attention for the area, whether or not they choose to locate there or somewhere else in your community. I think it is a nice feature. And so I think, yeah, we heard distribution and manufacturing from a lot of the focus groups.
Who do these,
What I
I just have a quick question. Who do these focus groups consist of?
Emilio, do you have the list of those?
Yeah, so we had a few focus groups, mainly commercial real estate and development, existing, primary employers, community leaders, workforce development, which included the school district and Workforce Solutions, Texas Workforce Commission, and I want to say a small business panel as well.
So it wasn't really like anybody outside of the community.
From a regional perspective, there was the Greater Houston Partnership, and then the governor's office also did some interviews. Those were one-on-one interviews, and then BNSF was interviewed one-on-one as well.
Okay.
I want to ask, and I want to make sure I didn't miss it. In the slides, did it show the potential jobs that these could open?
Yeah, those
Sure.
were for on a case-by-case basis. That's what one project could represent, if I understand correctly, Lee.
The table.
Yeah, the table that showed the job creation and capital investment, each one
Okay.
of those examples given was per industry, per company coming in, correct?
Right, yes. And, those are generalizations. But it gives you some basis to compare, the manufacturing against the data centers or aviation. And the aviation varies because there's so many different, it could be, the flight school, which is probably going to be small and job creation and capital investment, or it could be a manufacturer, which could be, medium in both. But it just gives you an idea that, if you're looking like manufacturing has the potential probably to bring the most employees. And while it may not be the highest investment, your data centers are probably going to be your highest investment numbers. But distribution may take and manufacturing, as well as your construction materials, maybe your quickest hits, if you will, the ones that you're able to attract the fastest.
Thank you.
Is that any more questions on that? Is that clear?
Lee, this is probably dovetailing onto that, but as far as the demographics of the workforce, do we have enough potential workforce employees to meet, say, a manufacturing plant that was coming in? Would we be able to meet their criteria for workforce? Would it be local? How many say, percentage of local residents would be eligible versus, say, outside of the Cleveland city limits or maybe even into the neighboring counties?
Yeah. Yeah, and you're probably going to have to pull, I mean, depends on the size of the manufacturer. But if it's a larger manufacturer, it will pull from the surrounding counties. You know, it may pull out of Houston, that sort of thing. And so I think, you know, that question kind of depends on the size of the manufacturer that gets that lands as far as that. But certainly, I think there's workforce there in Cleveland to support, you know, the smaller end of that. Definitely.
Okay, thank you.
But okay. It'll skill base wise too, it'll probably depend on who fits and where those people are located as far as the different jobs available.
The other end of that question, Chuck, is kind of why we did this is, and the work that we do is that there's not a lot of opportunities for existing residents. And so, you know, this informs our other strategies would that inform our business recruitment and attraction efforts, which will hopefully help us land some of these projects, create opportunity and investment, and hopefully be a driving kind of economic force to support some of the new housing development and people moving here, then they're not commuting to other markets to work. And the other half of that equation is if we offer, the right technical programs and post-secondary opportunities locally, and to kind of build up our skilled workforce. So, all kind of elements of that this effort kind of assessed.
Sounds good.
It's the first domino. Yep. Anybody
Yeah,
have
and
any more questions?
we did spend a time at the high school with and folks there and the training they're doing and building the airplane and everything. And that was pretty impressive. I think, you know, from that standpoint, they are you've got some good partners in getting the people and students getting their skills ready for industry.
All right, anybody have any more questions for Ms. Howe? Well, thank you very much, Ms. Howe, for the presentation.
Well, thank you. If you have any other questions or think of anything, just shoot me an email. You can get that from Heidi or Emilio, and I'll be happy to jump on a call or anything. So you guys have a nice night. Thanks for having me tonight.
Thank you, Lee.
Bye-bye.
So in terms of next steps, armed with this information, it really informs our recruitment and attraction efforts for industry. We have another consultant that we work with that helps generate leads and helps with business recruitment. And so really what they were needing was the actual NAICS codes, like the specific industries and business types that are provided in some of these target industry target profiles. There you go, profiles. So we've given them that information, and that'll be helping us with leads and more meetings and discussions to help our recruitment efforts. And then part of it, this informs our overall kind of economic development strategy and kind of how we think about incentives and where to provide those and where those best used, and where is that energy and those resources, where those best allocated. So very exciting to be wrapping up this project, but also how that dovetails into our other efforts.
So at this point, you're just looking for the direction to go ahead and take this approach to move forward with it?
Yeah, just an adoption of the findings.
Does it require a motion?
It'd be a good formality.
I make a motion then that we approve or accept the target industry analysis as is.
That's second.
All right, I have a motion and by Mr. Thompson and a second by Mr. Buckley. All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Yeah, I think that right on target. All right, number 14, we have a training and discussion from our awesome city attorney. Yeah, there she go. I got that out of the way first.
And I'll just tell you all ahead of time, this, and Heidi's head's probably gonna blow up, because I rarely ever go in the order of slides. I tend to skip around a lot. I've given presentations where I've never left the opening slide, so it's, I put a lot of stuff in there that y'all can reference and look to, and if it piques something where you're like, I got a question about that, that's kind of why it's all in there. I'm definitely not going to go through all of them. There are 32 slides, and it would be, this is the full meeting presentation, and I don't think that we want to take up into that late hour. Yeah. So if y'all have the packets, a lot of information here. I'm sure y'all know what all the basic stuff. You can look at the dais and count the number of other members on the board. 7 more board members. 3 of them can't be city employees. So in essence, 4 of them can. I don't know of any cities that have 4 council members or 4 city employees, because you run into quorum issues and dual posting requirements under open meetings. 3 is by far the most common number. Yeah. So obviously, everyone's appointed by city council. City council can appoint and remove members at any time, although they are appointed for 2-year terms. Now, y'all have requirements in your charter for the full range of officers. State law only requires, I believe, for a type B, a president and a secretary. Type A has requirements for the vice president and treasurer. Most everyone has all 4, but just in case it's, in case you are looking around like we really want to get rid of this vice president. So probably the most important slide at the beginning, slide number 6. These are the basics of board action. Quorum, that's what it takes to have a meeting. That's 4. Voting, majority of those present. It's majority of those present. In a lot of board actions in the private world, there's a lot of language about present and voting. So abstentions don't count because they're not voting. So the majority number changes depending on who's abstaining. Forget all that. It's just majority of those that are in the room, and it's as simple as that. The location, and this is a little bit unique. All meetings need to be held within city limits. There are exceptions to that depending on, and I'm not sure if, I don't think any of the counties, certainly none of the counties are below the 30,000 threshold, but essentially there's an exception if your city lies or touches in a county that's below 30,000, you can have the meeting anywhere within that county. I can't imagine that applies to any of the 3 counties for Cleveland. Really kind of the meat of most EDC presentations, it is only like 4 slides for me. And I'll tell you why in a second. Expenditures and projects. So, and this is slide number 7. So in terms of the EDC spending money, there's only 2 types of expenditures. There are administrative expenditures and there are projects. There's nothing else. And there are requirements on what has to be done for administrative expenditures. Those are primarily handled through the budget process. Depending on how the language and different approving resolutions is written, those can either be approved through that process, they can be approved on an individual basis. ultimately they go to city council for approval. Project creation is the more detailed one. And under project creation, there are two types of expenditures, two types of project creations. And this is kind of the meat of what you do. So the board can create projects under Chapter 501 or 505. And the shortest way I can explain the difference between those two chapters is 501 is primary jobs and infrastructure. 505, quality of life. And that vastly oversimplifies it. But the reason is because you're a type B, and type B is subject, or I shouldn't say subject to. They are subject to all the requirements in 505. They also get all the benefits from all the expanded authority in 505. Because 501, I mean, it's, if you look at slide, I think we're on 7, personnel, buildings, or I'm sorry, actually it's slide number 8. Job training, public infrastructure, primary jobs. And people think primary jobs, that's a primary job is my main job. That's, every job's a primary job. No, primary jobs are very specific types of jobs in very specific industries under federal regulations, the national or the North American, I'm blanking on the acronym. It's the NAFS. And that's, generally speaking, manufacturing falls into that, warehousing falls into that, distribution falls into that. Primary jobs are jobs that are with companies that distribute goods or services, period. Everyone talks about it. Regionally, statewide, interstate. Well, all of those things are just, if you distribute it, you're either distributing regionally, you're distributing internationally, whatever. So if you distribute goods or services and you're in certain sectors, then that's considered a primary job. And there's a lot of requirements for that. There are a lot of requirements on the what constitutes a job part. But all those projects have different requirements in terms of what requires approval. So they may not have a 60-day waiting period. They may have essentially a process for an expedited project. Essentially, you know, the way that you can think about how all these projects under 501 or 505 are constructed is, if it's a 501 project, it's going to have a lot more project-specific requirements and a lot less process requirements. Because that was the original, when the Economic Development Corporation Act was passed, the original chapter was 501. Actually, it was, if you know, go back to slide 1, don't go back to slide 1. Type A and Type B corporations, Type A is that original statute, and that's been recodified into 501. So primary jobs, infrastructure is 501. So what's under 505? Quality of life. Well, that's where you get into the things like, you know, community facilities, parks, affordable housing. You've also got primary jobs provisions in 505 as well. You can also spend money, buy land, buy equipment, give grants, basically do anything if you determine that it promotes new or expanded business development. And you're like, well, what does that mean? I shouldn't say, what would you like it to mean? But it's essentially what you determine promotes new or expanded business development. And a lot of people call that the junk drawer statute, because if you can't fit a project under all these other statutes, there's a good chance you can get it under 505, 158, the junk drawer statute. And that's, if you determine it promotes new or expanded business development. That's not being slippery with the statutes. The legislature put that in there and provided ultimate flexibility for a reason. Ultimate flexibility means not a lot of requirements. All those job requirements that were in the other chapter, well, those aren't there. But there's a lot more process requirements. And so that's where the balancing act comes in. And now if all of this is just sort of ended up in a big mashed potato of project stuff, that's fine. It does for me most of the time. And if you look at slide 11, best advice, check with your attorney, things attorneys always say. Here it matters a lot because there's a project. To be honest with you, most projects satisfy multiple statutes providing the authority for that project to varying degrees. They may not create hundreds of primary jobs. They may only create 4. But they also may, no doubt, provide newer expanded business development. And sort of figuring out where it's strong, where it's weakest, doing both, all the process stuff. The reason that I don't have a lot of slides going all the details about creating affordable housing is because when those projects come up, you get in the weeds on those details. And if I talk about them now, they'll just get lost. Economic development statutes, the authority of the board and the city council to enact the things that they want to do to promote economic development, there's a lot of flexibility in these statutes. We can make things happen. There are definitely areas where this isn't the, EDC authority of the city, not the right vehicle for that kind of project. But there's flexibility in how to make those things happen. And so I don't like to get in the weeds on, are we going to talk about, is this are we creating primary jobs in a manufacturing industry? Is it enough primary jobs to warrant the whatever? Because everyone then, they get lost in the details. What do you want to do? Generally speaking, we can find a way to get that done. There's maybe some more process requirements for it. But that's kind of the balancing act of EDC requirements. So 11 is the out of everything in here other than open meetings, I probably get the most questions about this. This is the basic process for adopting a project. You got to give notice of the project and the public hearing on the project. You got to have the public hearing. You got to adopt a resolution adopting the project. And you got to wait 60 days. It's 60 days from the notice of the hearing. It's not 60 days from the hearing. So the sooner that we want to take a look at this, post that notice of hearing. Get that out there. That gets your 60-day clock running. And then by the time you may have finalized it, now, things come up. You may ultimately decide, we posted notice on a project that we want to spend, $100,000 on. Turns out we want to spend $200,000 on. Well, the notice that was posted is only going to cover a project for $100,000. We have to do new notice for that extra $100,000. But generally speaking, most projects don't have just one big check that's cut. There's a first check that's cut, and then there's a second check that's cut. So that 60-day thing feels like a lot. And the legislature loves putting huge weight requirements on cities in all sorts of levels. That 60-day requirement doesn't have to be a lot. If you kind of know where it's going and you know essentially the general thing that you want to get done. The other thing that the city of Cleveland and the EDC does that I really like, in fact, every EDC I work with, I have one that doesn't want to do it. I push everyone to do it. Take advantage of the budget process and the project creation process, because when you're talking about what you want to budget for in the next year, you're talking about what you want to do as a project. That's the same conversation. You're talking about what we want to do and how much we want to spend. Well, that's project. So we can line up our project creation process with the budget process. And when your budget is approved, the projects that you've identified ahead of time, in the past, we've seen that resolution that adopts those projects. That's the item right after the budget resolution. And what that does, that creates that project. Those notices have been posted. That clock's already running. That 60 days runs before the first of the year even starts, when you can't spend next year's money till next year anyway. And so that's why there are ways that you can attack some of these requirements so that you're not constantly feeling like, because otherwise, if you have to wait 60 days, I have one EDC, they'll remain nameless. They do not post notice until they've actually formally created a project. And so they actually do 2 notices of hearings, projects. So with the notice, once a month meeting, 60 days, essentially there's a generally 3-month waiting period. That's assuming the 2 resolution reading that happens at council after that happens in 2 successive weeks. So it's generally 4 months. Like, you can get out of your year before you can even spend money in it. So it's important to think about these requirements in terms of this is what we want to do. You know, and the reason I say, you know, give Emilio a call, give me a call, because there are certain projects that don't have the 60-day waiting period. There are certain projects that don't have a public hearing requirement. Now, all things being equal, and it's probably the next slide, or at least 1 or 2 after it. One more. That's actually, for what it's worth, that's the junk drawer slide. Cities, less population, less than 20,000, can spend money, land, equipment, expenditures, improvements, basically any physical thing that you can think of, found by the board to promote new or expanded business development. That requires 2 readings of a resolution by city council. That adds time if city council only meets once a month, which is the other advantage in the budget process, because that's when there's a meeting of city council almost every other week. So the best practice here is to do all those requirements. If you do all the requirements for every project, it's just never an issue. But not every project requires that. And so there are, you know, if this is the method, notice hearing, EDC resolution, 2 readings of a resolution by council. If you do that every time, you'll never have an issue. But you don't have to do that every time, but you got to make sure that you are squarely within the boundaries if you don't do that. All right. That's enough mindless rambling on that topic. Let's skip to 13. I like this slide because people take it just totally wrong. I'm sorry, no, 15. You're right. That's right. This is right. Put these back on. So everyone's like, "Whoa, you're not a public official." Like, you know, like, well, I never. You know, this is a good thing. There's an endless list of state law requirements that apply to public officials in all sorts of manners. And EDC board members don't have to follow all those requirements. They got to follow some. A friend of mine always characterizes it as, you know, a city has authority to do fire service, property taxes. They can do sales tax. They can, all these things. And they got all these rules. In EDCs, it's sales tax economic development. So it's like, we're going to give you some of the magic, some of the sales tax magic. But you only have to follow certain requirements. And so those little requirements, basically open meetings, Public Information Act, and you do have immunity for actions taken in the course and scope of being EDC board members. There's training requirements for open meetings and Public Information Act. I'm not going to dive too far into open meetings. I mean, I can accidentally talk about open meetings for 2 or 3 hours. But the AG does a perfectly adequate job of totally scaring the hell out of everyone. If you go to their little online webinar thing that they do, I think it's like 90 minutes. And you got to do that within 90 days of assuming office. So you're on the clock. It's right up there with like what you see in like Malcolm in the Middle 7th grade science presentations from the 70s. It is just an awesomely dated presentation. Much like this one. All right, so quick thing on open meetings. I want to jump to 18. A lot of people get confused about open meetings. It is so absurdly simple, and that's it. You got to post notice of the meeting, date, time, place, subject. Nothing else, by the way. There are like a lot of questions about different wordings on agenda, whatever. Subject. I used to have one board. They would every agenda item would just be like training facility. nothing discussion on, consideration, just training facility. Complies with open meetings, subject, that's it. And that was there because they didn't want to get caught in forgetting to put words on, that's their thing. Agendas, obviously, I'm sure as everyone knows, they serve multiple purposes. They are as much a in-meeting script as they are a signaling, a lot of times you want to signal, we're not going to take action. We're only going to discuss, because you don't want people running around crazy. But those are all, individual requirements or that a city may choose to do. Open meetings, just time, date, basically tell them where you're going to meet, when you're going to meet, what you're going to talk about. And then on that day, meet there and talk about those things. That's it. And then you got to keep minutes. Minutes are literally just the actions taken. They don't need to be huge narratives. I know some people that don't like huge narratives. I like huge narratives. I know honestly, I'm the only attorney that ever says that, because I like knowing actually what happened at the meeting, not just that something was not done, no action was taken. It's like oftentimes there's a long discussion before no action is taken. And the last thing is, oddly enough, everyone assumes this has been, the Constitution provides a right to hear from the public. The public didn't have a right to appear at meetings and speak. They had a right to appear at meetings. They didn't have a right to speak at meetings until 2019. That just happened, and which is crazy to me, because I also don't know of a governmental entity that has ever assumed differently. Because that's probably the most important thing on the agenda for most entities, and that's a good thing. But that's now a requirement in state law. That's actually why it's up front. Some entities used to have public comment at the back of the agenda, which I don't think anyone ever liked. File it under things the legislature actually did get right. So walking quorums, that means talking outside of a scheduled meeting. Essentially, I talk to one person, okay, I know what you think, I'm gonna go talk to someone else. Or they're gonna go talk to someone else, and then they go talk to someone else. The original example is there was a mayor, I think it's a city maybe in Bear County. He had a meeting with 3 council members. 4th council member showed up. He kicked one guy out of the meeting. That new guy walked in. Another guy showed up. He kicked another person out of the meeting. New guy walked in. Did that until he'd had a meeting with every member of council. And the district attorney in Bear County was like, that's a problem. That's obviously a problem. Like, everyone knows, you're kicking people out of that meeting because you know you're trying to get around the law. In the modern age, it's tricky because you can't control who sends an email to your inbox and who's CC'd on that email that's sent to your inbox. I also probably accidentally reply all to more emails than I reply to, because it's the default reply. And if you reply all, depending on what's in that message, is there now a walking quorum? And usually the hardest thing when a DA looks at these kind of things is, well, we know they were talking, but they can talk. There's nothing in open meetings that says you can't have a discussion with someone that just happens to be on the board with you. There's actually 2 AG opinions that say, yeah, you can go to breakfast. I don't know, the number of AG opinions about going to breakfast and whether you can spend money on carpet is incredible. But there's a bunch of AG, you can talk about things that aren't board business. The problem is that someone's looking at it and they say, well, we don't know what they were talking about. No one recorded their conversation. You can't presume it. There's circumstances that you can start to presume it when suddenly big action is taken that's a really complicated topic and no discussions in the meeting. None of those things look good. The reason email is a problem and something to always be cautious of is because, well, now DA doesn't have to worry about proving all that stuff. DA is going to look at that and say, well, they're on the email and I have a transcript of the things they were talking about. So it's these things, that's why email is very, and I say that not to talk about it in terms of like, well, we got to, how to prove up a criminal conviction. I'm talking about this because more often than not, what happens over email is accidental. You don't know if you're replying all. You don't even check to see who's in the CC line, and you realize after the fact, oops, I did something. Maybe you reply to a comment on Facebook, and then you scroll up and you're like, oh, well, there's 4 other board members that have also already replied to it. Is that a violation of open meetings? I mean, luckily the AG hasn't weighed in on that. I have no doubt what they'd say. And so that's kind of the level of caution you have to have with the technology issues. Public Information Act. I like to simplify this one even more than open meetings. Oh, wait, let me, one more thing on open meetings. This is massively important. Expect, Alice, this is hugely important. So the legislature, in its infinite wisdom, has passed a new law, and there's no longer 72 hours notice for a meeting. It is now 3 business days. In other words, weekends don't count anymore. And the reason, I'll be honest with you, I don't have a problem with the 3 business day thing. What I have a problem with is how sloppy they worded the statute, because it is 3 business days. Used to say 72 hours notice before the time of the meeting. What's changed is it's now 3 business days before the date of the meeting. So does the day of the meeting count? Meetings always happen at night after a full day of the meeting. In other words, is it 72, is it 3 business days plus 1 business day? And that's where most people is going. TML's initial reaction was, no, you can count the day. And it's been a whole thing at our office. My understanding is TML is about to revise their take on the bill. So, I'm sure that won't be cleaned up in the special session, but we'll see. So that's something to be aware of. In other words, you're just going to have to be, things are going to have to get out a little quicker on, it's not going to be an issue for y'all. The issue is going to come with, to be honest with you, Monday meetings are more of an issue, I think. Tuesday meetings, Wednesday meetings, those still posted on Wednesday and Thursday, so they're still probably fine. But that's something coming September 1st. Public Information Act. Information is presumed to be public. There are exceptions. Most of those exceptions apply to information in the document, not the entire document. My view is assume everything is public at all times. There are a lot of exceptions, but the exceptions that would prevent public disclosure more often than not prevent only small portions from being redacted or prevent the release during a certain time frame. So like stuff regarding an ongoing negotiation. It's not going to be public during the negotiation, but the second that negotiation is done, it's public. There was actually a bill that everyone in my office hated, and I loved it. The bill was to make all legal memorandum public records as a matter of default. And everyone's like, well, waives attorney-client privilege, like blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this is awesome. I don't have to write any more memos. Everything is now just phone calls. This is great. Unfortunately, it didn't pass. So, on public information, slide 26. This is really, 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 really good advice. The thing that you never think will be an issue is never an issue until it is. And when it is, if that thing is in the middle of like your personal email account, you're on your computer commingled with stuff, then essentially it could open up those things to public disclosure. Now, there are limits to that, but the best practice is just keep them separate. Because if they're separate, we don't even have to go through that exercise of fighting out, sorting through what is required to be released and what's not required to be released. There's a whole bunch of slides on all the consequences, jail time, all those things. And they're very serious. I don't know anyone that thinks they are more serious than the scathing, scathing news article that will always come out if there is an Open Meetings Act violation or a Public Information Act violation. Because those are public integrity statutes. And they're all couched in terms of, essentially if someone just reads the statute and says they're accused of violating this, it's going to sound way, way worse than it probably is. And I don't know anyone that wouldn't probably want to pay 10 times that amount to avoid that news story from coming out than that thing. So it's an extra, there's a silent extra consequence or reason to make sure you're following those provisions carefully. Conflict of interest, that's another topic I can go on about, and I won't, I promise. So earlier I said there's a slide that said you're not public officials, and everyone, people are like, conflict of interest is one of the areas where because you're not public officials, the litany of state laws that govern public official conflicts of interest don't apply to EDC board members or EDCs. You've adopted Chapter 171 in your bylaws, so 171 does apply. And 171 is easy. 171 is if you think that you have a economic financial interest, contact staff, figure out whether it meets a threshold, whether you need to file an affidavit disclosing it. And then if you file the affidavit disclosing it, you just recuse. It's all good. I always err on the side of caution on those things. I actually haven't had in at least 2 years a true, under the statute, conflict of interest. And 6 or 7 times a year, I advise to file the affidavit disclosing a potential conflict of interest, because the consequences actually are very significant. I think it's a Class A misdemeanor. It's actually one of the highest penalties that's in that public officials can be subject to, and curing it or preventing it is so easy. So err on the side of caution. If you think you have a financial interest in a subject matter that's in front of the board, and there are requirements on that. It's not just like it's not a feeling in your heart, like I'm invested in this. It's literally, are you invested 10% in that? Are you a 10% or more owner, $15,000 or more owner? Do you generate more than 10% of your annual income from a specific business? Those are the actual hard thresholds that trigger the requirements. But it's oftentimes not about the thresholds, and it's more about, is the board action directly going to affect, if the board is considering entering into a contract for a business that you are 100% owner on, that's easy. If the board is considering funding a project where the effect on you may not like the effect on the neighborhood, and the neighborhood it may be a neighborhood you live in. Is that a special economic effect unique to you? Yeah, but it doesn't meet the other thresholds. So the trick is, be aware of the thresholds, err on the side of caution, and then you don't have to get in the mud with whether it's this special economic effect that's unique to you versus other folks, because I tell you, the case law and AG opinions on that they're not consistent. They're all over the place. Oftentimes you may think that it's individual, and they are trying to find a way to reason towards a certain result. It's not to say that anyone's doing anything wrong. It's just that it is a very vague law, and it's just not written to where it would be consistently applied, even if it was applied by the same court in every case. So that's essentially the short of it. If y'all have any questions, let me know. Obviously, don't ever hesitate to reach out. And for what it's worth, do I need a motion to table is the most asked question I get in meetings. And I give a different answer every time. Because the answer is no, but sometimes yes. if they've already got one on the table. So, but that's Robert's rules, and that's a wildly more boring presentation than this, which is already a wildly boring presentation. All right.
Anybody have any questions for Tommy?
Yeah, I do have one. It falls back on the projects, you know, say we budget a certain amount and then we know we end up finding it's gonna cost us more. Are we able to amend that, or do we have to go back and do the whole complete hearing process?
You would have to go back, if you need to add more to the project, you would need to go back and provide notice for the additional amount. But, and that's why it's important, I think, if you recognize that threshold is coming up close,
Yes.
then go ahead and do that to provide the extra
Okay.
space. It's actually, and my general practice in terms of project creation, I had one person that told me, he's like, anytime I have a project, let's say it's like, we want to do $200,000 for this, I always make sure to put $600,000 for ongoing maintenance and blah, 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 blah. To always have that extra stuff. I don't like that, and I promise you Pam hates that because it's a budgeting nightmare if you've got these extra amounts just to provide coverage. But you can typically take care of those if you can see it coming quick enough. But yeah, you would need to go recreate, or not recreate, but you would need to provide new 60-day notice for the expanded amount.
Okay.
Let's say that, kind of building on that question, let's say it's a tiered project that's going to go over, say, a 2 or even maybe a 3 fiscal year period. And you have the totality for that amount, that overall general amount. Could you take that in one big chunk if you had the numbers to back that up, if you were taking a tiered approach over fiscal years, or would you have to start with what you were planning on doing in that fiscal year?
Every project's a little different, but generally speaking, this kind of goes back to the budget process. If you've got a multi-year project, I would create the project for a little bit more than you think it's going to need to be in the first year. But then in the second year, when you're doing the budget process, you can reauthorize the extra amounts for each ongoing year during the budget process. Essentially, you recreate the projects for year 2. Some people will create the projects in whole, off the bat, and specify these amounts in these fiscal years. I mean, it's 6 1/2 dozen the other. But a lot of times those projects, they may not see phase 3. They may end up seeing phase 7, 8, 9, and 10. And so it's just more about how certain you are of the costs up front.
Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Tommy? All right, well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Brooks, update on projects concerning beautification and improvements to city facility and parks. And I'm sorry, did I misspeak, or is that Mr. Brooks? All right, excellent.
We'll tag team it.
Tag team, there you go.
Teamwork.
To all the board members and everyone present. I'd like to get an update on a couple of projects that the city has been working on with Development Service, Economic Development Board, and so forth. I'll start with the library. So the last quote we got was $117,000 for the structure. So we were looking into it, and the reason why it was so high was because of the height of the beams have to be supported by the projector that Mary had that one proposed for us to start this project. So, we was doing some other calculations as far as the price-wise and try to make it more feasible for the city to move forward with this project. And we had a couple ideas of other options that we could go about making this happen. And one of them is I know we want in shade structures, stuff like that, which that costs increase, well, the structure of that will increase the price dramatically, and we talked to a local vendor, and to keep it within reasonable, it was like $40,000. Now, this would be, anything over that would be engineering structural quote, but this one, he came in under the recommended price, but it would be a steel structure instead of a shade structure. It would be coated with heat resistant, so it won't be so much heat waves below the area. I mean, if fits our area, but I just want to propose that to you all, and that's another one that we came up with. Another one was Cunningham Recreations came up with another price of $180,000 for the shade structure, along with this other one that we talked about was $117. So we wanted to see which direction, or do you want to go with this, or what direction you want to go with that for the pop-up projector for the library. And another, I'll wait for y'all opinion on that one.
Well, on the steel structure, is it gonna be tall enough to use the existing projector that they have now?
So the library has a blow-up pop-up. It's 20 feet high.
Yeah.
This project that for under like 40,000 will cover that projector.
And then two, that one's gonna be a solid surface top, correct?
It'd be solid.
So then we'd have to figure something for the ground then, because it's,
Yes,
like you said before, it's gonna kill the
because
grass.
eventually, later on, even though we did go with the shade structure, we would have had also fixed the grounding below it also with some type of pebble rock or something where it would be, it wouldn't attract the water to stay up in there. It would disperse from that area. So it's a couple ideas that we had that we want to present. I know the prices kind of was high that we had to readjust and go from that point.
Now, what would it cost to, if you did the solid structure, to do maybe like an AstroTurf?
I know this, as far as the shade structure, the complete build out for the solid structure would be 40,000, roughly around that price range. Now, to do the asphalt, I'm not sure that's something that we could do ourselves in-house on that part. It would be just for the materials and actual to level the area, pack it in, and make sure it doesn't drain. It don't hold the water, it drains away from that area. So it's doable for the price that we propose. You know, we could be savings, be involved in that process also. But we would have to do, like I said, level the area, put some type of granite underneath. That way the water don't hold in that area, it will disperse out, or whatever we have to do, put some drain perforated pipes underneath that area and secure it.
Storm drains.
Storm drain type, and then put pebbles around that, so if water get in there, it'll drain out away from that area and work it like that.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be better to do an AstroTurf, because that way it's not as hard, and then, of course, it's gonna be covered, so it probably wouldn't attract as much heat into it.
Right.
Because my concern is gonna be kids getting burned or.
Yeah, so the shade structure, it will have a paint, some type of a paint coating over it that the heat won't be so much.
It's gonna be heat reflecting.
Heat reflective, right. The paint type would be, it would resist, or I should say, it wouldn't get that direct heat to it. It would reflect it. And that would help out on that area and try to get this project rolling out the way. I mean, try to get it finished as possible so they could meet their needs, what they need to do at the library, and give the kids more area for them to have more recreation, or the community could be involved in anything that's possible that the district will provide for that. But I will get back with you on that as far as the final. If you want to go this route, we will come back with you with a final proposal or options.
I guess it would be, what the cost would be to do the steel structure with the AstroTurf and the French drains or
Yes.
the storm system to
That way we-
keep the water off versus doing the other one that's 100. Because, I mean, it sounds like it's gonna be 100,000 plus anyway.
Yes, yes, it
Either way
is.
you go. I mean, I don't know the cost of astroturf right now. I don't mess with that, so.
All kinds of, it ranges.
I figure,
It
you know. you probably
depends
got
on
your
which
cheap-
one you want to go
yeah,
with.
Probably got your cheap
Yeah.
end, you got your high end, you know. But at the
Yeah,
end of the day,
the
you gotta have something that's gonna
artificial
last.
turf period, I mean, they have all, I mean, you can get it, it's, definitely got a pretty wide gambit.
Okay. Also, on another note, one of the other parks, so we, hopefully in the end of August, we should start doing the renovations for the park at, the pavilion and the walking trail and the playground units at Water Park on that one. The pavilion, so we are gonna, y'all recommended the fire hydrants on the fence, so we are gonna do that. So I do have plans on doing it in-house, and then probably, and we got a couple welders that we could weld chain link or steel chains, act like fire hose as far as the chains from the 2.5-inch connection from each connected and tied on to, all the way through to the existing fence. So we are gonna make that happen before the year's out.
That'd be nice.
Water Park, Campbell Park. That is one of the parks that we are looking at. Right now, we're taking on two or three big trees in the area that's, it's a liability thing, so we are getting some quotes on it. We remove those from there. Once we do that, then the process is to, it has an existing walking trail there, but the trees are so rooted, it messed up the actual trail of it. So I'm planning on trying to see if I could redo the existing trail by removing those tree roots from the area, and also the underbrush in that area. I need to redo that also, and put more lighting in the area so it'd be safe for the community, and just to be able to see from a distance without all the underbrush, so stuff like that. So I will update y'all accordingly as that goes further.
Did y'all ever get a price on doing the shade structure over the new playground equipment?
Not yet. I was expecting to get a quote back from Cunningham. I haven't got it yet unless he sent me between now, but it should be minimal or something. That's not that bad. Tell me one for the Old City Park, right?
Yes.
Yes. I'm gonna do that one and the one at Water Park also, for the kind of shade structure, make it look more feasible and more safe for the kids so they won't get heat stroke or something like that.
Well, the old part, the old stuff, it was in the shade, so you didn't have to worry about it too much. That new stuff is
Yes.
right in
Right in the
the
sun.
sun, and it gets hot, like scalding hot, so that's good.
Thank you.
I'm good. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Roger.
Mr. Brooks. All right, we're going to move on to item 16, discussion and workshop of fiscal year 2026 budget priorities and objectives.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. So we passed out the proposed FY26 budget. This was really intended to be more of a general workshop, but we kind of did some of the hard work to put together some more firm numbers. And so we'll go ahead and walk through that presentation that corresponds with the proposed budget that you have in front of you. So we did miss our June meeting, so we're going to have to look at doing a makeup meeting potentially later this month to kind of meet our budget calendar for the city's overall fiscal year 26 budget calendar, just to make sure that we're meeting their timelines. This would have been our second workshop on our budget, but again, we missed the June meeting because of some quorum concerns. But again, Tommy kind of did a good job of an overview of kind of the nature of EDCs and our funding and kind of their mission, and that's kind of what we'll talk about in terms of programmatic goals. We'll also look at some of the highlights of this proposed budget in terms of our operating expenditures, some of the projects and incentives that are kind of really of interest, and then we can recap with any questions and discussion. But next slide, please. Next slide. Again, kind of the use of our funds and kind of our compass in terms of, backslide, and is our mission to create primary jobs, to expand the local tax base, to provide quality of life improvements and enhance of city parks and recreational facilities, and to assist with workforce development. So this is our north arrow, our compass, and this helps inform our roadmap in terms of some of the proposed expenditures and our activities and our programs and so forth. So moving on to some of the operating expense highlights. So kind of taking it by what's outlined before you. We have revenue on this proposed one. We didn't put it in here because this is still subject to some forecasting and reporting. This is just a trend right now. While it's not on the slide, I'll say we're looking and trending towards being around $900,000 for year end. So that's going to be kind of the ballpark that we're going to be looking at revenue for fiscal year 26. But really want to focus more on expenditures today. So professional services, and really these are just changes and increases, decreases that we're highlighting. The more detailed expenditures are detailed in the proposed budget that you have. But legal general, looking to kind of increase that as we become more active in our use of Tommy's expertise and knowledge becomes a little more frequent. So just kind of looking at our trends for legal expenses, we want to go ahead and increase that. So we're not trying to find that at the end of the fiscal year somewhere else and taking from something else. So legal publications, we're actually decreasing a little bit. There's not that many needs. When we look at the overall community development department, development services, there's a lot of legal publications for rezonings and Board of Adjustment, those types of things. On EDC, really, it's just kind of our annual noticing for our projects and things like that. So we haven't really seen a whole lot of need for legal publications. So we're going to proceed with a little bit of a decrease there. Looking at engineering and other services, there's going to be some engineering work associated with Hangar L as we resume those activities. And also looking at maybe some downtown parking improvements and associated engineering fees with those activities next fiscal year. And then looking at other professional, it's showing a $30,000 increase. When you look at last year's fiscal year or this current fiscal year, some of these expenses are allocated in different areas. So really moved from planning and target analysis, because you'll see that in other services, that's actually at 0. So a lot of those expenses have been reallocated here, and that mainly includes our retail consultant and also our consultant site location partners that helps with industrial recruitment and business lead generation. So next slide. Industrial park maintenance. Didn't allocate anything previously, but we do have some expenses in terms of some, kind of mowing those properties a few times a year. So looking at allocating that, and that would be an increase there. Next slide, please. other services, looking at website development, discussion partly last time was to kind of see how we could best leverage our existing website. We're hoping to do that whenever we had our first marketing communications coordinator. Their tenure wasn't that long, so we didn't get to kind of explore how to enhance our current website. We're still going to make efforts at doing that this year, but when you look at kind of our other competitor communities and other EDCs and kind of the versatility and range of their websites, they outcompete us in that regard. So in order to help with kind of our competitiveness and really leverage our new branding, we'd like to explore a new website for the EDC. And so with that would become these $12,000 increase from FY25. This also includes funding for our available properties viewer, which has been a wonderful tool that we've used. It helps us field interest, helps promote properties, helps us whenever we're compiling responses to RFIs and the such. So we've gotten a lot of good feedback on it. BNSF has said that their traffic in terms of interest has gone up. They noticed whenever we incorporated that tool, and so we obviously propose to keep that, and that's part of the reason behind the increase. Looking at travel, meals, and training, that's a decrease, but it's still a pretty healthy line item. We do encourage board members to participate in annual training, whether that be the TEDC sales tax workshop or the TEDC annual conference, usually in October. So if you have any questions about that, we'll start to share those reminders as those events come closer. But if you have any questions, you can get with Heidi and me on. We can assist you with registration, lodging, accommodations, per diem, thing like that. Looking at dues and memberships, a $6,000 increase from FY25, and really we're looking to allocate our chamber membership dues. We usually pay those out of a different line item, but this would probably be more prescriptive because this is the line item for dues and memberships. And also, in talking with the chamber, there's some appetite to increase our participation in our chamber membership dues. That would help that would allocate some funding to them and help alleviate some of the various other participation that and assistance that we offer them throughout the year with marketing programs or sponsorships and things like that. That would be more spelled out. If we went in that direction, we'd craft an agreement with the chamber and really detail what the membership benefits would be, what the sponsorship would entail, and their performance for that. And moving forward, postage, just trying to keep some operating expenses down just to, really leverage the funding in other parts of the budget. Software, we utilize a program called CoStar to help respond to RFIs. This was paid this year out of industrial recruitment, but really trying to put, again, the line items in more prescriptive places. It's a web-based, software, so it belongs in software licenses. But that's been a very effective tool in responding to RFIs. Weeding out the time that it takes to weed through real estate listings because it has vast quantities of commercial real estate data, demographics, things like that. Looking at some of the projects and incentives, like I mentioned earlier, Hangar L, the engineering fees, well, this is the funding to help support the actual improvements for Hangar L. Looking at city facilities and parks that we just talked about, looking to potentially participate a little bit less this year, kind of catch up on some of the existing projects that we have. Have a feeling that some of those might carry over into FY26 anyway. And so I think we're looking to participate at about $75,000, which is a 25% decrease from the current fiscal year. Looking at murals, a $1,500 increase from current fiscal year. We will pursue another mural in the downtown area. I think we have a potential sponsorship with Dan's Guitars right now in terms of mural canvas, but looking to pick that back up and just trying to account for some minor inflation or some just kind of buffer in case the artist fees have increased. Next slide. Looking at incentives, no real changes, but we did, just kind of wanted to discuss them. I will say in terms of participation for the Business Improvement Grant, which was formerly the Facade Improvement Grant, has been low. We had aspirations of when we hired our first marketing communications coordinator that we'd be more aggressive in pursuing, businesses and promoting the program. We do need to do a better job of that, and now that Courtney's here, I think we can. And her and Heidi will make an awesome duo, and I think help us promote that a little more. There's interest from Dairy Queen, the Dairy Queen property owner, in potentially utilizing that program to help get occupancy back into that building. So, we're having some conversations trying to figure out how to get those funds utilized so they're not just idle, and to tell the story about the availability of the funds a little better. Looking at incentives generally, I had a question about this at a city council meeting recently, but the line item for general incentives was kind of intended for mega projects, or what we would call mega projects, or to support a mega project like we talked about some of these projects in the target industry analysis that Lee presented earlier. When you see the investment levels from the millions, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and so those substantial projects, they may require infrastructure improvements or job creation incentives, and we just want to allocate some funds in our budget to maybe potentially meet those requirements and expedite some timelines like Tommy was talking about. If we could do that with the annual budget process and save some time in the future, then we want to take advantage of that and some of that strategy there with this budget. Next slide. And that's all we have for you in terms of this budget workshop. I think we'd be looking at, one moment. I'm going to get my date right, but I believe it was July, the week of basically July 14th through 17th to have, which is in 2 weeks, to have another special meeting for our second budget workshop. I think I can probably safely say that we did a lot of the heavy lifting right now, and there'd be very little changes, but y'all can take this, digest it, and if you have questions, then we can go over those at the next budget workshop. And then that'll keep us in line with our budget calendar, and then we'll have hearings later on in the year for the proposed budget. Any questions?
Questions? All right. Thank you, Emilio. And do we need to settle on a date?
If there's a direction, that'd help, and then we can send out a final calendar and then coordinate the agenda posting for that.
Okay. So if we continue on having it a Tuesday, that would be the 15th.
It's a council meeting.
Oh, we can't do that.
The week of the 14th, I'll be gone.
Okay.
It'll be out, okay.
Is it possible to do it the week after? Will that push us close, or?
Monday would be the last day, the 21st. Because I think we technically have a due date where the city manager files the proposed budget with the city secretary. And I think that date is the 22nd. So we could do it on the 21st, Monday.
Is that doable, or does that cut y'all too close?
Yeah, we anticipate less changes, but, just be updating some exhibits and it would be fine.
I mean, if y'all need to do it the week of the 14th, then, I mean, it's.
Mr. Tipton, I mean, if we had it on that 21st, like I said, I mean, that's cutting it close for y'all's office. I mean, does that put an undue pressure on y'all? All right, does everybody have availability for Monday, the 21st?
As long as it don't run late.
It would be the only item.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause this is my long day, so I'm gonna.
If we put it to, I mean, any objection, since it is just one item, having a slightly pushed back start time of maybe 6:30?
Oh,
Does
no,
that
I mean,
help?
I could start early.
Okay.
It's just I had to be out by 7.
Oh, it's the opposite way. Okay, so 6 should be, yeah, fine. All right. So 21st, 6 o'clock? All right, thanks, Emilio.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for working around my schedule.
No problem. All right, we're going to move on to number 17, revision of EDC bylaws, Article 4, Article 7, Article 8, and 9. I think everybody remembers we were wanting a little bit of cleanup on some of those different articles. What you got for us, Emilio?
Yeah, hopefully we were able to achieve that. Took a stab at these revisions. We kind of covered most of these, but I'll kind of just, since we have new board members, kind of review where we left off. Looking at Article 4, election in terms of officers. The only material change there was instead of electing annually board of directors, officers for the board of directors at the regular annual meeting, we changed that to the first meeting of every calendar year, since we changed some language in earlier articles about the EDC holding an annual meeting versus the EDC publishing an annual report. So that's the only change there. Took some of the language out of at 4.05 for the president, kind of dilute, if you will, some of the power that position holds, and try to democratize that and allocate that to other offices that have now been defined. If you look at section 4.09, this is kind of the major change is the what we're calling the corporation administrator. And so this officer, I'll read the language, but there may be a corporation administrator who shall be responsible for the administration of all the affairs of the corporation and serve as the chief administrative officer of the corporation. The city employee hired by the city as a community development director shall serve as the corporation administrator. The board, may make recommendation to the city manager regarding the corporation administrator candidate to be employed. As an employee and department director of the city manager shall employ, suspend, and discharge the corporation administrator. The corporation administrator shall perform and direct the daily administrative operations of the corporation. The corporation administrator shall be reviewed by the board of directors on an annual basis and shall be reviewed by the city manager on an annual basis. The corporation administrator shall receive compensation as approved by the adopted budget. If the position of the corporation administrator becomes vacant, the duties and responsibilities of the corporation administrator shall be assumed by the city manager until a new corporation administrator is appointed. So that was, that hopefully did a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of the concerns about if this position was vacant, who would assume some of those prescriptive kind of day-to-day operations and tasks? So that would fall to Lee or the city manager to assume those until a new director of community development is installed as the corporation administrator. Does that address?
Well,
the
no,
concern?
it still gives me a concern that the board is pretty much at that point eliminated to having the authority and the control that I feel the board should have. It's putting all that on the one person. And the reason the board was developed was to have that control and get the direction of what it wants to your position or whoever holds that position. So to me, it feels like that's being pulled from the board and everything's going directly to that position or whoever holds that position. So I do have a little concern about that.
Well, I would say that the board authorizes the salary. They kind of direct the programmatic elements of the corporation. They make policy. They do. They still have broad authority, but just in terms of the day-to-day operations, that's where the corporation administrator or the city manager, in my absence, would be given that responsibility. So I wouldn't read it as taking authority away from the board, because I would say the board has broad authority, sweeping authority, in terms of its policy role. But this is more of an operations and day-to-day role and responsibilities that we're just trying to allocate to specific personnel or officers.
And the day-to-day role, I mean, as far as what tasks they're going after, whether it be project work or whether it be directionally what we're working on, is instructed by the board. Yeah, I think in a lot of this language, it's just kind of I mean, I absolutely understand
We got the
your
perfect
point.
person here to answer
Yeah.
those questions for us, so. He might not have been listening, but I know he got a lot of stuff going on, but.
Yeah.
I mean, in all reality, I just want to make sure that, when we do this, it's going to be said. I don't want to have to, you got to have the power to do your job, and that's my main concern, that you have that, but also the board needs to have, to me, has to be able to have the control or to say so in either with your presence or without the presence. So I don't. Well, really what it was it took it from the president, because in the original bylaws, the president has control over the board and day-to-day tasks and overseeing all that. So what we're doing now is taking that part out of the presidency and then put it in the hands of the economic director.
Yeah, I mean, and for that, that's completely within
405 and 409 is what it's doing. So I just want to make sure it doesn't put us in a bind in the long run. I mean, right now we got somebody great. It's just I worry about future part, and we're not always going to be here. This board's not going to be here forever. So it's just going to be things that'll be in the future too. That's my.
Well, and the board always has it in their rights to amend these bylaws too. So if we ever had, I mean, there'd be a lot of
Well, even more broadly, there is section 4.11, which talks about management of the corporation, and it says, the business and affairs of the corporation and all corporate powers shall be exercised by and under the authority of the board of directors, subject to all applicable limitations imposed by the Texas Nonprofit Corporation Act and the Texas Business Corporation Act, the Texas Development Corporation Act, and the Articles of Incorporation and these bylaws. The board may, by contract, resolution, or otherwise provide general or limited special power and authority to the officers and employees of the corporation to transact the general business or special business of the corporation, and may give powers of attorney to agents of the corporation to transact any special business requiring such authorization.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that gives a clarification that we didn't have earlier, so that's
That's great
that's what I was
clarification.
looking
Yep.
for, to see where it
Yep.
put everything at, so.
And Tommy will get, if you remember from the first set of articles we did, I mentioned that there's a lot of references to state law and stuff. So we wanted to do all the red lines and then turn it over to Tommy to review the entire document. So it is it's fresh to him, but the intent was for him to review it at the end for all the legal construction and references to state law and just general legalities. Well, yeah. Right.
Well, they gave me clarification and some comments to be able to say, yes, I agree with this wording now, because before it just, I guess I was confused by it, or I was overlooking it, or overthinking it, so I wanted that clarification so I knew where we stood at total.
Sure.
So I do appreciate it.
And we added a whole lot of language to compensate for the very few words that we took out of the president section.
I know,
But put some
Yeah.
clear definitions in there,
Yeah.
so that was, I think it was what we asked for, in my opinion.
Of course. Well, I'm glad.
Yeah, because, that one, 'cause let's face it, the reason why the reason why we were looking at that 4.05, it was just, that one line said a whole lot, and it wasn't really defined.
Yeah.
And it just left so much open to, so I think we added a lot more words, but we added a lot more clarification.
Of course. I think we talked about ex officios last time. This just says that the corporation administrator shall serve as an ex officio of the board, may attend all meetings of the board or committees, and including executive session when allowed by law, and that the city manager may serve as an ex officio member of the board. And ex officio members do not hold voting rights on the board, and additionally, board of directors may appoint representatives from area organizations to serve as ex officio non-voting members of the board. I talked about section 4.11, management of the corporation, section 4.12 and 4.3 under employees in relationship with administrative departments of the city. Basically, with the approval of city council, this corporation can contract for full-time or part-time employees of the city to carry out businesses and programs and obligations, kind of what we do with the marketing communications role. That is a shared position. And then subject to the paramount authority of the city manager under the charter of the city, the corporation shall have the ability to utilize the services of the city staff in all departments, provided that performance of such services do not materially interfere with other duties of such personnel. And then the other ones we discussed last time, but 6.02, again, this will have to undergo legal review by Tommy in terms of the references as to state law. And same thing with section 9.01, and really there's no other material changes. So the next step, if you like the direction, we'd give this to Tommy to redline, and then we'd present y'all with the final sections, Articles 1 through 9 of revised bylaws for recommending of adoption.
Everybody in agreement with that? Any other change?
Need a motion for it?
No, this was just discussion of
Discussion.
revision, so the actual action item will be on the adopting the revised bylaws. I do believe council has to officially adopt them, but obviously I'll be recommending the adoption.
All right, any other discussion on item 17? All right, at this time, we're going to enter into closed executive session. The City of Cleveland Economic Development Corporation reserves the right to adjourn into an executive session at any time during the meeting to discuss any item on the agenda as authorized by Texas Government Code Sections 551.071, consultation with attorney 551.072, deliberation about real property 551.073, deliberations about gifts and donations 551.074, personnel matters 551.076, deliberations about security devices, and 551.087, economic development. So at this time, we're going to enter into executive session on those sections at 8:30. 15. No action taken in executive session. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion, we adjourn.
Second? All right, all in favor? Y'all have a great evening. No, you're good.